What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Dirty Mike, and today, my friends, I'm doing a video a lot of people ask me about in the comments on the live stream. We're gonna compare some formations. What formation works well against what other formation? I'm looking at the 5 most common formations that I see in FUT Champions. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you feel like I left something out, we got the comments. Let's start some dialogue. If you enjoy the concept, if you enjoy the content, make sure to support it. Drop a thumbs up. Let me know what you think. Hey. Before we get into it, if you do need cheap codes or cheap games, head on over to g2a.com. Use Dirty at checkout. Receive that cashback bonus. On screen, we've got my bread and butter, the 4-1-2-1-2. The second variation. And the reason this formation is popular is because of the balance. It has a lot of classic roots, and it works well against other narrow formations if you are the better player, and that's why it's so popular. If I play better than you play, and I'm up against a 4-3-1-2, a 4-1-2-1-2, even a 4-3-2-1, which is a little wider, I'm going to win that match because it's going to be a battle in that midfield. But if I'm better than you, then I should be able to push through. I want to keep this short but sweet, but basically it puts you in the game. Now, you've still got to have the goods to deliver the results. But if you're up against other narrow formations, even a 4-2-3-1, then this formation will give you an opportunity to beat those formations. And we're going to talk about the 4-3-3 soon, but that's where you're going to fall short in terms of matchups because you just don't have the width to get out there, which makes it where your opponent's going to have the ball more than maybe you'd like them to have the ball. Even with custom tactics where you got crazy wide. And I need you to be honest with yourself. If you're watching this video and you're listening to what I'm saying, just be honest with your gameplay. Do you play fast? Do you play slow, mainly down the middle? Or are you using the wings? Are you whipping in a lot of crosses? These are areas that you've got to be honest with yourself for this video to apply properly. You have to know what you do well, your strengths and your weaknesses, to truly pick a formation and then figure out how you want to play that formation. Next up, we've got my favorite 4-3-3 variation, the fourth, a little more attacking. And if you're going up against an opponent who's trying to hold the ball, maybe they got off to an early lead, they're feeling, oh, maybe I could slow the tempo, good time to switch into the 4-3-3-4 because those two wingers can then press the fullbacks. He's not going to do any sort of holding in the back. He's going to have to do it in your own half. He's going to have to push forward. But the 4-3-3-4, as well as other variations, they do well against the narrow formations for obvious reasons. The 4-1-2-1-2, the 4-3-1-2. I'm talking about these 5 that are very common today. All right? Today I'm talking about most common formations because you're going to have time and you're going to have space, which gives you everything you need to make the correct decision, and you can hold possession easier. Your weaknesses are not exposed when you're going up against those narrow formations. Not in my opinion. I always dread when I'm matched up against a 4-3-3-4 because I'm in that narrow formation. I realize if he plays this correctly, he will have a distinct advantage. And that's sort of what this video is about. However, one of the disadvantages of a 4-3-3-4 is if you're going up against someone who is using a wide formation also. It just seems that covers and it causes matchup issues. And then the counter is open. The 4-3-3s are always going to be incredible counter formations. That's what I've noticed in FUT Champs. If you struggle a lot against the 4-3-3-4 and you're playing one of the narrow formations, try something different. Switch it up. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. We're at the midway point, and we have the 4-2-3-1, which is on the come up actually. This used to always be a closeout formation for me, for yours truly. I'm ahead by a goal, I'm ahead by 2 goals. I want to trade a striker to a CDM, and those cams play a lot wider than you might anticipate or you might expect if you don't play this formation. On paper, looking at it, hold on, that looks very narrow. In game, not a narrow formation. However, many pros have been switching into the 4-2-3-1 in the last month or so because you can pressure with it. It covers everything. And this formation is the best formation out of the 5 in terms of not having weaknesses. Now, if you struggle offensively, this formation might not be for you. You have to have the ultimate level of creativity and passing and moving and the L2, R2, and then good patience at times because you've got to get your bodies gradually going forward. You need those CDMs sometimes to push forward. You need the cams to be moving around, whether you're sending them on runs out wide, sending them down runs down the middle, because your striker, he's over there by himself. You can hit him on the single through ball, but great players aren't going to make that mistake often. where you're able to just do one over the top ball to Ronaldo. Forget about it. One concern with the 4-2-3-1 is also if you're playing, especially in FUT Champs, not a pro event. FUT Champs, you're involved, you're getting started in your 40 games. I feel as if, because this formation sometimes lacks offense or makes you a little more predictable, that you give opponents that shouldn't be on the same page with you, shouldn't be on your level. If the skill gap is major, you don't want to play this formation, because you can keep it simple in something that has two strikers, maybe the cam feed and the strikers, that triangle of doom, and you can just go with that. You can roll right through your opposition. You don't need to have that extra defender. However, in the pro scene, where games are often not as high scoring and the players are so good attacking wise, then you can feed through this formation for the counters, and there's going to be holes for you. There's going to be gaps, and maybe it covers up where you struggle, and then it gives you an opportunity to put a little more emphasis on the areas that you need to focus on. Remember how I just spoke about the 4-3-3-4 and how a mirror matchup can cause issues? I actually enjoy using the 4-2-3-1 against that formation. I think it does extremely well because it covers all this wing squadouche, this wing garbage that I got to deal with in FUT Champs, where people just try to run the wings. I hate that. It's part of the game. I can't complain. You can't make somebody play the way that you want them to play, but I definitely would love to take away what you're doing. So sometimes I'll switch at the very beginning of a match, or I'll try to get an early goal, and then I'm swapping into the 4-2-3-1 if they're playing a wide formation. I want to see those people attack me in the middle of the pitch, somewhere that I'm a little more comfortable, as opposed to the shielding down the sidelines, looking for a cutback. We're going to take that away. I want to see you do something a little bit out of the ordinary for you. That's what FIFA is all about. Make your opponent do something that makes them uncomfortable. Do you smell what the Dirty Mike is cooking? I've used that once before. I don't know. I've got good energy this morning. Now we're looking at the 4-3-1-2. Now this formation is very similar to the 4-1-2-1-2, and people often ask me, what's the difference? The spacing is different. It's a little more aggressive, and the passes are a little shorter, and I actually feel as if I don't get as good a width. And I actually have no issues going up against this formation in the 4-1-2-1-2, because it still puts me in that mirror situation where if you're better than your opponent, okay, we're good to go. That's going to be the winner. Now, if you're not as skilled, then you might be on the wrong end of that. Now, the 4-3-1-2, a little more pressure-based, a little more in your face. I've seen people use this formation and be able to overwhelm the opponent so quickly. In fact, I actually used this formation in a couple weekend leagues before going into the 4-1-2-1-2, and that just felt a little more comfy for me. But it still works in very similar fashion. It's going to be good against narrow formations, and it's not going to be as good versus the wide formations just because you don't have the width. The overall summary with the 4-3-1-2. Do you want the ball back quickly? Okay. If you know how to pressure, this will work for you. And you need to play fast and direct. It's the best for that type of play style. And also its partner in crime, the 4-3-2-1. If you're direct in how you generate your attacks, I'm talking pass, through ball, pass, driven pass. This is something that interests you. You know that that's what you're about. Then you're going to love both of these formations. I've actually had many issues with the 4-3-2-1 recently in FUT Champs. It still has the same pressure as a 4-1-2-1-2 or even a 4-3-1-2. However, you have a little more width. And if they get to your fullbacks, you can't play around in the back, which forces me, because I'm also playing a narrow formation, to then try to find a midfielder, or maybe I have to go straight to the strikers, directly to the strikers, which would include a little chip through ball or a manually lofted pass. Both of those have some risk involved, and it speeds me up. You can control the tempo. Let me give you the overview of all the formations we've discussed. And I want to start with the three narrow formations, the 4-1-2-1-2, the 4-3-1-2, and the 4-3-2-1. What you can expect. Now the last two, I feel they're even higher pressure than the 4-1-2-1-2, but all of these formations are going to be played mostly down the middle. That's your ideal situation. So they all share the same weakness. The 4-3-2-1, because you do have the two left forward, right forward. If they play wide, then it doesn't resemble a 4-3-3, but defensively it does give you some different options. You can shut down some of those wing passes that happen from the fullbacks. If you give up a lot of those wing passes and you've been playing a narrow formation, maybe it's time for a switch. But you're going to get benefits from being direct, from being aggressive. You cannot play FIFA passively. It does not work. If you just run people back, that won't work in the long run. And all these formations still share the same weakness, a 4-3-3-4 or some sort of 4-3-3 that is playing wide and patient and slow. If the guy knows what he's doing, if he understands tactics, if he's a manager, alright, he's got managerial skills, he will be able to create some havoc. Might be able to piss you off. Might not be as good as you, but he's going to keep that game very close. At least until you open up the scoring. And if he opens up the scoring, you got a fun track back. But there's no shame in your game if you change formations. You switch it up. That's what FIFA is all about. Now, with the 4-3-3-4, you got that width. You're going to be able to counteract a lot of these narrow formations. However, you only got one striker. And if you're someone who uses tons of build-up in the midfield, it might not be perfect for you. How good is your wing play? You got to be honest with yourself. I know I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but I meant it. That's why I want to reiterate. And then the 4-2-3-1, which is the best formation. If you don't know what kind of opponent you're playing, you go into the match in the 4-2-3-1, and I guarantee you can keep it close. You could be competitive. Even if you're getting outplayed, sometimes this formation allows you to have a lot of bend, but you're not breaking. And that's because you got the two CDMs. You do have width, but you still can play narrow. You've got help. You've got support. However, let me talk about it. However, offensively, it can be predictable. Offensively, if you don't know how to move your players around. Offensively, if you struggle, this formation won't work for you. Defensively, it's beautiful. And it can be just as beautiful offensively. But you need to have certain skill sets, certain intangibles when you're attacking if you want to use the 4-2-3-1 and get the maximum out of it. Many people have watched me live stream. I'm good at this formation. It works for me. But I understand there's a learning curve. And if you want to try out any of these formations, make sure you invest enough time in developing the skill set that needs to be associated with this formation, the personnel that needs to be associated with this formation, and the tactics. Your instructions matter. Your custom tactics matter. I've done videos on all these formations on my channel, teamed up with Obi, and we made sure that we brought out good content for everyone if you were trying to add a new formation into your arsenal. But if you enjoyed it, drop a thumbs up. Looking forward to the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I have a lot more coming for you ASAP. Peace!